So welcome, Isabel. We so give thanks for all the remarkable work you're doing. And at SETSI, as always, we begin all things by giving thanks to our creator, by acknowledging all the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Isabel, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your remarkable work?
Thank you so much for having me, Victor. I'm very grateful as well for your invitation and for the opportunity to share a little bit more about my journey here in this land. I'm originally from South America, Ecuador. I am a newcomer and settler here in Turtle Island. Currently on the east side of Toronto. And I've been here for almost 10 years. It's gone so quickly, and very grateful for the generosity and possibility of things that I am able to do here. I currently work at Canadian Community Food Centres Canada, who is a national organization focused on systemic change to address food insecurity across the country. So I will tell you a little bit more about the work in a minute.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And all the work that your organization is doing in terms of food security across our nation. So my next question is, what inspires you about your work? What has you curious right now? What has you passionate?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been very privileged to serve organizations in the past almost over 20 years that I've been in this sector. Organizations that focus on building the capacity and supporting communities that are ready to build change, to transform their communities, to address challenges, and that know how to do it. And both from a lens of access to rights and immediate assistance. So from quality of education, equity and gender issues, and most recently around food security. So that has been the focus of my what I've leaned on to support and work. And my inspiration is the knowledge that there's still people, there are a huge amount of people that sustain our communities, ready to serve, ready to enact change in support of those that have been left on the margins, and that they need funds, they need the support that many other organizations, individuals have abundantly at their reach. So what inspires me is my skills, my capacity to build a bridge between those two. And currently, in the past 10, 15 years, mostly focused on philanthropy, on the philanthropy space.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I remember last time we were speaking, you spoke about your work globally in international development. And every time we connect, it's always been inspiring to hear how you're able to leverage all those actionable insights from your past and previous work to your current role. So my next question is, what challenges and barriers do you face in your work? And what are some of the approaches you and your colleagues are taking to overcome some of these barriers and challenges?
Yeah, I think we all know that we're living very complicated times, very challenging times. I think within the sector, in the social purpose-driven sector, or most commonly known as non-for-profit sector, we are facing a multitude of challenges. And the symptoms are so many different ones. And specifically in the food insecurity sector in Canada, we are facing a crisis of unprecedented levels of food insecurity, and people holding jobs, 2 or 3 jobs that still need support to make ends meet. And a huge level of demand on services for organizations like food banks and food programs. So that is at the center of the challenges that my organization, my current work, and our sector are facing. Within that, I think in a mid-level picture, it's the how systemically the support of all these social nets of supports for individuals have been breaking down in the past 4 or 5 decades in this country. And how we as organizations in this sector have been conditioned to work from such a scarcity. So the biggest challenge for us in the philanthropy space as philanthropy professionals is to have engage more individuals, more people to see the fragility and the avenues that we have to challenge that scarcity, to challenge that preconception of how the role of our organizations, and see us as spaces of opportunity and change and transformation. So that is specifically in terms of the mid-level, and the higher view, certainly how do we, back to my opening statement, philanthropists and we need to know that the communities and the people serving those communities know what the solutions are for those communities, the funds and the supports around them, so they can make it happen. So really, how can we accelerate that movement of more people trusting on the community and those local activators to do what is required to lift people up?
Indeed, I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for your leadership and candor. So my next question is, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work that you're focused on?
Yeah, certainly we have. Right now is end of year. In the space of philanthropy, this is the season. This is the season to be knocking on doors and seeing the magic happens for our organizations. But certainly in the next year and upcoming years, is as an organization is navigating with our partners in solidarity with them this crisis that we are facing. And in that sense, yes, be hand in hand in trying to support and gather resources, but at the same time, actively speaking out and up in solutions focus about the systems in place that are stopping individuals to have a meal on their table. So, so I think those are the two priorities of our work. In terms of maybe just for a little bit more of context about what Community Food Centers Canada does, is we are a national network of community food centers that drive the support of individuals and communities through good food. We call good food that one, it can be have so many meanings, but certainly is about that food that is nourishing independently of your context, your heritage, etc. So making it affordable, nutritious, and culturally relevant for the community as well. So and so many other elements that are behind this concept, but certainly making it accessible through a variety of offerings, not only through food banks, which is an element, but certainly about spaces where people can come together to share food, to talk about that, about their challenges, to talk about their community, and together find solutions to those challenges. So it's a lot, is as much as the food as it is as the activation and community cohesion element. The work that we do is specifically that, in depth about doing a lot of policy analysis and policy solutions to the source of the problem, which at the end of the day is people not having enough money in their pockets to access what they need when they need it. And they are the best judges of how they need to spend the money, but certainly there is a huge crisis in terms of the quality of jobs, the salaries, and the nets of support that the government offers for certain populations. So all that work is through that policy analysis, research, conversation with the community, and surfacing what avenues we can do in partnership with so many different actors to move the dial on systems change. So that gives you a little bit of the spectrum of the work, in particular engaging conversations with philanthropists that are willing and energized to support this work.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So my next question is, how do you feel about the future of philanthropy and food security in Canada? Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Is there hope? How do you feel about the future of philanthropy and food security in Canada?
I feel hopeful. My international exposure and context gives me a lot of perspective about what it means to be food insecure in this country in comparison to other contexts. It is a huge, we are navigating a huge crisis, but I believe and I know that there is enough capacity, resources, funding, and brains behind all the efforts that the sector is doing, the government's doing, and even philanthropists and private sector that will and can come together to take steps forward. So I'm really hopeful. Canada is a country of possibilities, with a lot of individuals and organizations and a strong identity of looking after the well-being of people. So I certainly do believe in that there are avenues to move forward. It's not easy, and it's challenging. And I think the piece where I feel like I wish we could accelerate the steps are around, can more people listen deeply? Can more people challenge the status quo a little bit further, in the sense that, okay, how can we be solution focused for this that is unfathomable? Is an issue that shouldn't be in existence in our context. So I think that's how I feel, hopeful, and certainly a little bit like, how can we accelerate this change, or this opening our minds to find solutions for this challenge?
Indeed. So what is your ultimate goal, and what does success look like and feel like to you and your colleagues?
Picture, I believe is possible, and I know that there are many places like this in our communities. The ideal for us as an organization with the model that we have is that in every community, in every context, there will be or there is a place, welcoming place for food that can not only be that's not how we know it right now, but we know it as a catalyzer of possibility, of activation, of community cohesion, of friendship, and where people come in and go out richer than they came in the sense that they have access to knowledge, they have access to friendship, they have access to networks, and yes, some nice warm food. I think that is what success looks like. But also the other element around clearly seeing progress on the systems change that will enable that. Ultimately, we don't want people accessing those spaces because they are lacking, but because they want to contribute to the community, and those individuals having enough supports from the rest of the community, including government, and having a good income that can enable them to have a dignified existence.
Indeed, indeed. So my last question is, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our listeners and our viewers?
So I've always been very focused on engaging in conversations around philanthropy and looking at the challenges our society faces with this huge level of compassion. Obviously, that's what moves us to feel motivated, support, or engage in volunteering, or in help someone. A huge amount of compassion, and I think my challenge is that once we get there, let's not stop there, and look at what are the organizations that are acting with its lens of compassion and seeking deep transformation and change in the systems, in the current structures. So when you are discerning about how do you invest your dollars for philanthropy, or your time of volunteering, or your time of thinking about what concerns you in the world, think about that now, medium term, and who is doing that medium term and long term work, and learn about people involved in thinking beyond the immediate need. Yeah, certainly that has been a feature across my career, in terms of making sure that, yes, the needs of today are somehow addressed, but let's just build the foundations to get rid of those challenges in the future.
Indeed. Thank you so much. I always appreciate every time we're able to connect. I always leave more full, more whole. And yeah, I just really appreciate your insights and your consistent visionary leadership, Isabel. Thank you. So we'll close this interview the way we began, by giving thanks to our creator, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts, whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, Isabel, for all that you do for so many. So appreciate you.
Thank you. It's my honor and my privilege. Thank you.